Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pails, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure.
Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I quote it, John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
The Celtics ownership group, led by Wyc Grousbeck, planning to make the team available for sale. A little bit more insight into it with this statement that was released here. And can I see all of it? Yeah. Boston Celtics, Boston Basketball Partners, LLC, the ownership group of the Boston Celtics, announced its intention to sell shares of the team. Controlling family of the ownership group, after considerable thought and internal discussion, decided to sell the team for estate and family consideration. Managing board of the ownership group expects to sell majority interest in 2024-25, with the balance closing in 28. Expect Wyc Grousbeck to remain the governor until closing in 28. So that's it. Out. And I guess I'll get your initial reaction first, Bobby. I have some thoughts, but I'm still just trying to wrap my mind around a few elements of this. But I think fans right now are kind of looking at Wyc a little bit as a martyr. Like, he did what it took. He paid the bill. It's a little bit of a dine and dash situation. He ordered the most expensive champagne and, had a terrific meal and served it up to Celtics fans. And now that the bill is going to come due and we're in second apron hell going forward in a monumental tax bill, cash out. And that's it. It's understandable. We joked about this, Bobby, which is why we were always afraid in the past, right? I don't know if Wyc's going to go there with the money, if he's going to go deep into the tax and all of those things, because it's weird to call somebody who's a multi-millionaire poor, but by NBA owner standards, he's not one of the top dog, super rich, billionaire guy in terms of assets. His greatest asset is the team. And now he's cashing it in, bought it for 316. And the estimated return here is going to be $5 billion, on this thing, which is bananas.
At least, right? Who knows what that championship did for the evaluation here. And think of the increase over 2002, as you see there, 360 million, 1,200% increase in the valuation of the team. So given the new financial reality of the league, the luxury tax situation, and we can take a look at that in a little bit here in terms of what the Celtics are paying, this felt inevitable. Now, did we expect it this soon? No. But when you look at the timeline as the Celtics laid out there, that this is going to take until 2028, it makes some sense that they're starting this now. His goal always was banner 18, right? And he'll obviously be there for the repeat attempt and the third year run back if they're trying to do a three-peat here, if they repeat next year. So he's here for that window, right, John? And then once the uncertainty begins around 2027, 2028, they're going to transition to undoubtedly a much more wealthy group or individual here. And tough to speculate on who that could be. But obviously there's some big names that have gotten involved in the chase for franchises around the league. Matt Ishbia, the mortgage giant out there in Phoenix. Michael Bloomberg got involved in the Minnesota sale, which is about as rich as you can get as far as owners go. So that's the kind of money we're talking about now with ownership groups in this league. And it will almost undoubtedly be a group that buys this team. But at least according to the statement there, I know Adam Himmelsbach put out a statement that the other owners are looking to stay intact. That statement makes it sound like, John, that Wyc's out, Pagliuca is out, all of the owners from this group who obviously oversaw so much success in the later years of their ownership here are out. So certainly some anxiety and uncertainty warranted here. This is a group, John, obviously, that prioritize winning basketball and investing in the franchise over maybe making as much money as they could or managing the bottom line. And they certainly showed that aggressiveness to go into the tax that some other teams with their money might not have been able to do here in recent years. So I get the slight panic here among fans, because your GM, you can mess around with that can change year in and year out. Your coach is going to change. if you don't get a good owner here, that's life, right? Like the rest of your life is probably going to be the next ownership group.
It's crazy, right? Because a couple of years ago, people were crying for a sale because it was a fear that Wyc wouldn't go deep into the tax or spend, or they'd always, try to stay low here. And oftentimes prior to a sale, Bobby, you go in the opposite direction. You start to trim it down to make it more attractive to sell, which is not sign anybody. So the fact that he did this with the intention of selling is interesting and kind of unorthodox. People thought John Henry might have been trying to do the same thing with the team, with the Red Sox when they stopped spending money, and really he was just being more prudent, just and cheap, I guess, depending on how you want to say it. But in this case, it's the opposite direction. Is there's a massive bill. Anybody coming in knows that they're going to have to pay big. And I guess what gives you pause here is seeing is there a world in which new owners come in and they're like, as I've always said, owners should view these things not as a business, but as a vanity. I've always wanted to own a team, and I own it, and it costs what it costs, but it's not my number one moneymaker. I have another successful business doing other things, and this is just what are you looking at, Bobby? This is a terrifying expression on your face.
Some lightning.
But then you see something like Steve Ballmer, who's like one of the top 10 richest people on the planet.
Right. Throw him in the mix.
Deciding that the Clippers, that he didn't want to spend for Paul George, and they want to operate under the second apron. What? What are we talking about? This is banana land to me. So,
should I look up
I don't know.
richest people in the world? see who's gonna be in the mix here.
Who knows, man? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy here.
It is crazy, but it's expected, right? Wyc wasn't going to own this team forever. We knew at some point, as the cost of overseeing this team continued to rise, that he would make a sale. It's just a different era for the league now. It's difficult for him to keep up with the cost of this team, I'd imagine, given the tax payments they're going to have to make here into the future. And we've had our conversation, John. Obviously, the top 5 is locked up now. The starting lineup's locked up through 2026. You can split up any one of those guys into multiple smaller contracts when the time comes, but that's still going to involve staying in the tax. That's still going to involve paying big money for this team until you start to just let guys go. And at that point, do a little bit of a mini reset at that time. So the timing here makes sense, because when Wyc and those guys get out, it's going to be around the time that you start to go into a new era there with Tatum and Brown or whoever it might be at that point. So he's here for this next couple year run. Brad's here for this next couple year run. And then after that, who knows what's going to be left over here beyond the pieces that they have right now. So you got to be thrilled, and you got to realize, if you're the Celtics right now, this next year, 2, 3, it's all or nothing. You got to go for it. You got to do everything you can to win these next handful of years. And that's why Derek White is extended here. That's why Sam Hauser's probably going to be extended here. You just got to keep as much of this roster together as you can. And then it's going to be on the next ownership group to figure out what to do from there. And they're obviously going to have deeper pockets to figure it out at that point. But obviously, everybody is just clamoring to see who will it be.
Yeah.
What are their priorities? Are they as focused on winning as the Celtics group was, or is the next group just going to be trying to make money? And then there's a million questions beyond that. They don't own the building. Would that ownership group look to build a new arena or something like that? How would they?
You just don't see that. You're not going to have that. It's just you just don't really see that, and that would be difficult. But yeah,
go to the Game Time app and create an account today. Our official ticket marketplace, where you're going to get the best deals, and some of the best deals are right up until or even after game time. Create an account. Use the code CLNS. Again, CLNS for $20 off your first purchase over there. Terms apply. You got baseball going on, of course, WNBA. You want to go see a game down in Connecticut, or concerts and events. I used it on Hiatus Coyote over the weekend, so I got a great deal over there. and you can too. And if you use the code CLNS, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. Yeah, so it's a long term. I mean, this isn't Wyc selling the team tomorrow and being it. This is a long term.
No,
over
it's
the next
a
decade,
lot to
kinda.
unpack. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not panic time, but it's certainly a stunning headline to read today.
And again, minutes after the and I know this is what everyone's freaking out over. Oh, nobody wants to see that. Someone's got to kidnap John Henry. Actually, if I say that and it happens, I'm probably going to be an accessory. But John Henry can't be allowed to do this.
And he's the first name you think of, right?
He is. But holy crap. So again, the reason we're talking about this first is it requires a lot of unpacking, and we don't know exactly what it means. And honestly, you won't know what it means until you move forward, with the sale and find out, who the person is going to be and whatever. Let's be realistic. Wyc spent because he knew he was cashing out. Would he have continued to do this forever if he remained owner? No. So the people out there saying this is a bad thing, let's be real. Like, Wyc did what he did and is doing what he's doing because he went all in for a championship. Yes, it is going to be somebody else's mess to clean up, but if Wyc didn't sell, Wyc would have had to find a way, financially speaking, to get this team out of the second apron and not have to pay this hefty tax bill year after year very soon, which meant if it stayed under Wyc and this ownership group, they would have had to find a way out of it. So anybody thinking the new person's going to come in and gut it, Wyc would have probably had to do it also. So he gets out clean, he cashes in, and it's less about the new owner, and it's more just about the new economic reality of the NBA, of who you have. Yes, there's definitely concern that you would bring in a John Henry type. That's scary, but ownership is ownership. Like, if you're an owner, if you own the team, Bobby, and your GM's coming to you and be like, can I get this and can I get that? You'd have to think like, look, man, for a contender, I'll spend. I'm going to out myself a little bit here. John Henry's philosophy is actually correct, but the way he goes about it and the way he talks to fans like they're idiots, and that everyone will understand, is what hurts him. It's his presentation. It's the fact that he's an alien, and doesn't understand how the plebs think. Like, yeah, you should not be. I mean, the Clippers are doing it now. I'm looking at this roster and I don't see a championship team. So we're going to go backwards to take a step forwards. That's what you're supposed to do. You can't just say throw money at everything. The Celtics threw money at everything here because they felt really good about their championship chances and they feel good about their window here in the next 2 to 3 years. But then going forward, there's going to be some gutting, and honestly, very likely to feature only one Supermax player and not two. So you got to decide which of these guys you like best, because this wouldn't be shocking that something like that is going to happen in a couple of years. It's not a today problem, but the economic reality of the NBA, the bill is coming due for someone at some point, and it would have come due for Wyc, who would have had to make some difficult decisions going forward. So I'm not super concerned that like, oh no, the new guy is going to be cheap. No, the new guy is going to be faced with the same economic reality that everybody else is.
Yeah.
The downside, and this is fair, is Wyc was a fan, but Wyc was a fan who also knew that he had, that he wasn't, made of money. So he had limitations. And yes, it does help when they're a fan, as opposed to, like I said, the worst thing about John Henry is they claimed they were fans when they came in, and now he's using the word asset to describe the Red Sox, and they're buying a bunch of other stuff, and you don't know where his loyalty lies. Yes, absolutely. You want somebody who kind of gets it. And that makes a difference. You have it with Kraft, and you have it here, with Wyc. You've never had it with the Bruins, and that's why everybody hates Jacobs. So yeah, that would be nice, but I don't know. I really don't know what it's going to be. It'd be interesting when the names start to pop up, and who knows? I think that's going to start happening pretty soon. You'll start to hear some ideas. Yeah. I mean, if the idea is that they're cashing out by the end of the year, by the end of the next season, they gotta.
I think there's going to be some people here.
Yeah, and the other ownership groups emerged pretty quickly in those other situations after Sarver sold the Suns and Glenn Taylor put the Wolves up for sale. So it's going to be pretty notable names, you'd have to imagine, given the cost of this franchise, and maybe it will be Henry. The Henry thing's interesting. If you're him, obviously his target had been Vegas. That franchise still seems uncertain. I know Silver's still kicking around Mexico City, and they just keep kicking back that whole thing because of the TV negotiation here. So that doesn't look like it's going to happen until close to the end of the decade there. And obviously there's a massive expansion fee associated with that. So I'm sure that would be, believe it or not, a more expensive purchase for FSG, considering that to go out there to Vegas. I'm sure they'll have to build a new arena out there to go back to that conversation, unless they're just moving into that T-Mobile arena out there. So do you pivot to the team in your backyard? Obviously I think there'd be some appeal there to having another team in the same city. It's hard not to go to that.
I mean, he
name,
wanted
right?
the Bruins. He wanted the Bruins, couldn't get the Bruins, got the Penguins instead.
Right. And, from Wic's perspective, as unpopular as Henry is, he is a local guy who bought in on the Red Sox and succeeded and prioritized winning there. It's a very unpopular name right now, but in, I don't know, 2013, John, this would have probably been a popular choice to buy the Celtics.
Yeah, can't do it. Sorry, just can't do it. But it's happening. I mean, Cuban just did it. And sold his majority.
The Cuban one's
there.
the scary version of this, right? Where it goes to this like gambling, big money family that's just trying to build a resort and make $1 billion off the arena.
Yeah.
So that's the other way this could go.
Could you imagine if Henry traded Mookie and Tatum under his watch?
Whew. And the other part of that is LeBron would be in the ownership group.
That's funny. That's funny.
So I don't know. It's definitely one you have to think about because it's the most obvious. They're looking to get into the NBA. This is an NBA team becoming available in their backyard. I just wonder about the cost. Do you think Vegas, given the expansion fee and all the costs associated with starting that up, would be more expensive, or the Celtics, who are obviously a top 5 valuable team and have these massive costs associated with them? I think that's going to be a big part of the question too, because if you're Henry and them, you buy the cheaper team, right? The better value purchase in that scenario. So it's probably going to be pretty close. I don't know what the expansion fee is going to be like, but it's probably going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. And again, just to clarify from that statement here, Boston Basketball Partners LLC includes Wyc and Irv and Pags and the Abbey Group, which is Epstein, Robert Epstein, and then also Paul Edgerly, Glenn Hutchins, James Pilata, and a couple of others, managing directors, guys over at Bain Capital. That's the whole shebang. That's that. It's not just Wyc, it's Wyc and Boston Basketball LLC here. So it would be a complete overhaul of ownership here, and a completely new group coming in, saying that. So yeah, I mean, people are throwing out some crazy nefarious names. I don't know whether someone joked LIV Celtics. I don't think that that's something the NBA will allow at this time. Saudi ownership. Someone mentioned Musk. Does Bezos own anything basketball related?
No, and I think he's looked into that at different points. So that would be interesting. Obviously, there's the prospect of Seattle expansion as well, right? So that would probably make more sense in his case later this decade. So I probably would rule him out, but it's one of a short list of names. There's not many here that can purchase this team. So I guess add him to the list too.
Everyone's throwing this out.
I won't get into that.
It's interesting. It's interesting how this works. And again, I will jump back. We'll jump back to this, later in the show, and certainly if any kind of new insights or anything become available, I'm curious how long Wyc
He'll
has
probably
known
hold a
this.
press conference, right? I'd imagine.
I guess. I mean, if they're putting out a statement, this thing was in the works. This isn't something he just decided to do now. So it is interesting that happened the way it happened, and the timing of it, particularly off the heels of the Derek White announcement. Because again, I don't know that anybody was concerned that the Derek White deal wasn't going to get done because the Celtics weren't going to offer that money. I think if there was any concern, it was simply because White might not take it. So the fact that he is, I think, was amazing. But it is just super interesting that, right off the bat, as soon as that happens, bang, this gets announced here. So it's pretty crazy.